What up, everybody, and welcome to the Week 17 Action Network NFL podcast. I'm your host, Chris Raybon, and this is your Week 17 betting preview with odds courtesy of BetMGM, the official odds provider of the Action Network podcast. I am joined, as always, by my Action Network colleague and a Prime Minister of Degenerate Nation, Stuckey. Stuck, what's going on? How is your holiday?
Good holiday. Went back to Philly, saw some family, which was nice. And yeah, I mean, it was a quick visit. It's still football season, no real breaks here, but it's nice to see the family. Had a winning week in the NFL. Wish it would have gotten my total home. That Steelers Chiefs under was so brutal, under 45. Tomlin kicking a field goal down 30-0. And then, of course, they score a touchdown on fourth down after giving up another field goal and a fumble right before then to the Chiefs. That one was brutal. Panthers was just an awful play. Some of your plays I went against you with the Bengals, but I mean it ended up being Josh Johnson, and then the whole Ravens defense ended up being out. And the Vikings too. You give up a punt return touchdown, you lose Thielen to an injury. But hopefully with these new COVID rules, we're not going to see as many, mass amount of players being out for teams down the stretch, because it was getting a little crazy and it was just making handicapping the NFL a complete chore and just almost a guessing game in some instances.
Yeah, it was a headache. Speaking of the Bengals, I mean, that was, in retrospect, that was a bad play. I mean, just because one of the things I've been on all year is that the Bengals just tear up man coverage, and the blitz. Yeah. And it just, like, even if Lamar's in there, even if Huntley's in there, like, I don't think it makes a difference if you're giving up 525. I don't know how I survived that in our fantasy league. You had Burrow and T. Higgins. Like, I thought I was done. Like, so.
Yeah, unfortunately, I had no other running back. I would have won if I picked up. You won by 2 points. You would have won by like 6 if you played your D, or 8. But I had I tried to pick up Rex Burkhead, and that would have won it to me, but you dropped him on Saturday, so I couldn't get him on my roster in time. And then, so I ended up having to pick up, literally, like, all my running backs were hurt or on COVID list. So I had to pick up Amir Abdullah, who I think Darnold missed him on like a 40-yard wide open touchdown. I needed that, but he had like 2 points, and that was the death of me. But it was
missed him nonetheless. I do know. I don't know if I remember the 40-yarder, but I think Cam Newton missed him from like 2 or 3 yards out.
Yeah. He
like
got
just a walk-in. A walk-in touchdown. But yeah, that was actually.
Yeah, Darnold missed him too later in the game. He beat a linebacker down the
that's
sidelines, right. And he overthrew him by like 2 yards, and I was like, oh my god, I needed that. So yeah, poverty start. I had to pick up Abdullah and start him. What are you gonna do?
If anyone out there has made their championship game, be sure to listen to the Fantasy Flex podcast with Kerner and I, because that dropping Burkhead weight was actually intentional. You can kind of do things like that to make sure that other people, don't have as much time to kind of figure out what they're gonna do. Even this week, I have 2 guys on IR, so I'm not, and I don't have a quarterback. Like, I still have Taysom in IR, so that gives me another 2 extra roster spots that they let you leave them on IR until you make another roster move. So things like that, you can kind of get a little edge. But yeah, wish me luck, man. Going up against a pretty stacked team, and Mike Randall, shouts to him, who also made it. But yeah, let's get into the Week 17 preview. We got no Thursday night football, so we'll jump right into the Sunday 6-pack presented by the Athletic Brewing Company. Before we do, a couple quick notes. First, in case you're new here, please download the free award-winning Action Network app. It's the top-rated app for sports bettors, and it lets you track every bet that you make. Speaking of the app, if you want to reference our Sunday 6-pack picks anytime, just use the app's follow feature and follow Sunday 6-pack. We log our picks there every Friday during the season. And 3, Spotify now lets you rate podcasts. So if you listen to the show on Spotify and you enjoy it, or you just use Spotify at all, please give us a 5-star rating. It would really help us out, and we really appreciate it. Thank you guys for listening and sticking with us all year through the highs and the lows, and a little more highs than lows. So feeling pretty good. Let's finish strong. Stuck. Let's get into the Sunday 6-pack.
Yo, by the way, I almost Randall was playing Melissa to get into for the last spot. Not last past week, but the week before.
Yeah.
Like the winner of that was going to get the 4 seed. And if Melissa looked like she was going to win, I was gonna lose on purpose because I was like, I was looking and I was like, I think I have a slightly better shot to lose to Kerner. I mean, to beat Kerner than Raybon based on just what I think of the matchups next week. So I almost just tanked it. Now it wouldn't have mattered because Randall won. I would have been the 3 anyway. But the reason I didn't is I was like, I don't know. I don't want to fuck with the gods like that. Like then if I ended up I would have ended up beating you and not Kerner. Like it would just get in my head. So I didn't do it. But I almost just sat everyone and said, I'm going to hope Randall beat. And the ad margins were, it was close, but I was just like, I have a feeling that I have a better chance to beat Kerner than Raybon based on the matchups next week. It was funny anyway.
Yeah, I did not want to face Randall's team. I didn't want to face your team either because you just caught a bad break with JT having like his lowest fantasy output in like 2 months. I mean, it was just you guys are stacked. Kerner's team just kind of tanked at the wrong time. Essentially, it's just too much COVID. But we digress. Let's get into the Week 17 Sunday 6-pack presented by our friends at the Athletic Brewing Company. All right, Stuck. Still a very close score here. We're doing 1 point now for the 3 picks, the total, and then 1 point for our teaser, just to kind of reduce some of the variance with 2-point plays in COVID. So 48-47, I'm up. You have the first pick. Where you go?
Yeah, we'll probably go back to like a bigger point value for the playoffs if things settle down. But I think this is the way to go for the final weeks of the regular season. All right, I'm going to go for my first pick of the Week 17 Sunday 6-pack. I'm going with the Washington football team plus 3.5 against the Philadelphia Eagles at BetMGM. So this fits a number of different angles that I like. And I'm going to have an article up on actionnetwork.com and the Action Network app next week. It also applies to Week 17. Usually it's Week 16 and 17, but there's 18 weeks this year. But the final 2 weeks, historically, if you fade teams that need to win for the playoffs against teams that have been eliminated from the playoffs, you are very profitable doing so over the final 2 weeks of the season. And the reason for that is these teams that are in or that are out, they can play free, play loose, and all the pressures on the other team. And then generally speaking, the market tends to be overinflated on these teams that need to win. So I'll have details on all that, outline a number of different scenarios, but let's just speak to this particular game. A couple weeks ago, the Eagles were playing Washington football team at home, and the Eagles were off the bye. The look ahead line for that game was Eagles minus 2.5. And then it reopened at minus 3 after McLaurin was maybe going to be out. And then obviously it took off and it went up to 10 because Washington's whole team was out and Garrett Gilbert was starting. So, and like the fair market was right around Eagles minus 3. And, I had it slightly higher, but not much. And now you're getting the Eagles are minus 3.5 a couple weeks later on the road in Washington. There's not much home field advantage for either team. It's a divisional game, not much travel, a lot of familiarity. And you had to adjust Washington down after last week's disaster. But it's a team that was dealing with just a depleted roster and just COVID issues over 2 weeks. That's basically all cleared out. I think they only have 2 guys left on the COVID list. They're both backups. They should have, everyone that's available, not injured, should play here. And I just think that this is a complete overreaction to what happened to Washington last week on national TV against Dallas, getting completely embarrassed. By the way, they didn't cover by more than 28 points. Talk about this a lot. Teams coming off a game where they didn't cover by at least 28 points since 2003, 78, 46, and 5 against the spread. That's 63%. So that speaks to the general nature of buying low and selling high in the NFL. You should get a spirited effort from Washington who can try and spoil their rival season. A team they just lost to, by the way, a team they just saw. It's a unique offensive Philly runs. And I just think that this Eagles team, I like some things that they're doing, but, people are getting a little too high on them here. Here are their previous wins. they beat Washington's backups. Then they beat the Giants backups. They beat the Saints with Trevor Siemian. Before that, they lost. You got to remember before this recent stretch, and they also beat the Jets. So it's like the Jets, the Giants backups, and Washington's backups. Before that, they lost to the Giants on the road, 13-7. Here are their wins on the year: the Falcons, the Panthers, the Lions, the Broncos, the Saints with Siemian, the Jets, Washington with Gilbert, and Giants with Fromm. They haven't beat a single team with a winning record all year. So I think this is an overreaction. I just am taking the value with the number here, especially over a key number of a field goal. I can't get to 3 here, so I'm definitely going to take 3.5 at just a buy low, sell high spot in a division game late in the year. Should have a close to full roster for Washington. And people forget that this is the same Washington team that, it just shows you the ebbs and flows of the NFL market and narratives. And, Washington just a couple weeks ago was the darling of the NFL, right? They beat the Bucs at home, and then they went to the Panthers and they won. Then they beat the Seahawks at home. Then they went to Vegas and beat the Raiders. They won 4 straight. Then they lose to the Cowboys at home in a game with just a ton of turnovers. They actually had a chance late. And then they get COVID, right? So, and then their roster's just decimated for 2 games, and all of a sudden everyone is falling out of love, and the market, I think, has gone too low here. So give me Washington plus 3.5 at home against the Eagles in a game that I think should be under a field goal.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Late in the season, home dog. Not too many opportunities this week to play home dogs. I'll get to one that I like in a second too, but I think this time of the year you got some crowds. My only thing with Washington is I have had trouble getting a feel for this team. Just they've been so inconsistent, or not. I shouldn't say inconsistent. It's been like streaky almost. But do you think there's going to be any like residual effects from like that whole sideline fracas that happened with Payne and Jonathan Allen, or do you think that's going to kind of galvanize them in this spot?
Yeah, I think that could be a rallying point, and they knew each other from college,
Yeah.
and I think that was much ado about nothing, and from everything that they've said, I don't know. I think it could be a rallying point, if anything, but I don't think it's anything at all.
Yeah, I might join you on this one. Eagles also, they started real slow even last week against the Giants. Played a really good second half, but if they do that and they started slow against Washington the week before, so you figure at some point it might catch up to them. Divisional road game late in the year. Washington are they eliminated, or are they technically still alive?
Washington is I believe, eliminated.
Yeah, I think you need 7 wins to still be. Oh no, looks like they would need, like, there's like a chance, but they're not technically eliminated, but they're essentially all but
point. They have less. It looks like they have a 7% chance. Washington has a 7% chance to make the playoffs. Okay. If they win out, they're at about 30%. And for any Washington fans out there, what you would need to happen is, I'll just give you a quick. Saints lose out. Eagles lose out. Obviously, you can beat them once. And let's see. I mean, the 49ers are going to win this week. Who else is down here?
Falcons have like a 2% chance.
Yeah, here you go. Here's your scenario, Washington fans. What, like a realistic scenario. Falcons lose at the Bills this week. Vikings lose at the Packers this week. Saints. The Saints can win this week and lose at Atlanta. And the Eagles lose out. You obviously beat the Eagles, and then the Eagles lose at home against Dallas. And that's all you need. It doesn't matter what the 49ers do. So you basically, the Eagles lose out. So you beat the Eagles and they lose to Dallas. The Saints lose one of their last 2. At Atlanta is probably the one. And then the Vikings lose at Green Bay and the Falcons lose at Buffalo. It's not crazy. The hardest part there is Washington winning out at home against Philly and then at the Giants.
So this is their season. You can beat the Giants. Like it's not an issue. Giants are beatable. This is their season.
No, but Washington will win this and then lose at the Giants somehow. That's the way these things work.
Yeah, but no, that makes me like Washington even more, just because I think if you're ever gonna get one more effort from Washington, like it's gonna be in this game, and then you kind of go from there. So yeah, don't disagree at all. For my first pick and the second overall pick of the Week 17 Sunday 6-pack, I'm going with the Cincinnati Bengals plus 5.5 at BetMGM against the Kansas City Chiefs at home. Man, it's been a bumpy ride with the Bengals. I feel like I win 3 in a row with the Bengals and I lose one. Then it's like it's up and down. But I gotta jump back on the Bengals here in this spot against the Chiefs. I just don't think the Chiefs. I know they kind of wallop Pittsburgh. I expected that if they were anywhere near healthy. But Pittsburgh, their defense is reeling right now. They can't do anything on offense. I think this Bengals team is a completely different team and one of those teams that will give Kansas City trouble. And like Kansas City's had a couple of big blowout wins in there, Raiders, then they beat the Steelers. They kind of pulled away from the Broncos late. I thought it was more the Broncos' mistakes, but I think this is still a flawed Kansas City team. Their defense is getting better, but now you got to face Burrow fresh off a 500-yard game. You got to legitimately guard, 3 different wide receivers. This team is the best team in the league. And I've been talking about this all year against man coverage on offense. Kansas City's 5th highest man coverage rate. So you're either going to get a defense that's going to have to go out of its comfort zone a little bit. Spags does that. So I could see them playing more zone here, but or you're going to get a defense that kind of meshes perfectly with what Cincinnati does best on offense. So either way, I think that's advantage Cincinnati.
They blitz a lot too. Top 10 blitz rate. Burrow's number 1 against the blitz.
Right. So it's you're either going to take them out of the comfort zone, which is always a win, or it's just a great matchup for Cincinnati anyway. Then you have the fact that Cincinnati's improving, 17th in DVOA for the year, but 12th in weighted. So that weights the more recent games. So they're 12th. Cincinnati, Kansas City's 5th. They haven't really changed. They've been 6th for the year, 5th weighted. So you're getting a really good Kansas City team against a good Bengals team, but you're getting 5.5 and you're getting the Bengals at home. So I think that's worth it. You look at Kansas City since midseason of last year, and that's even with them kind of riding the ship a little bit, on this big winning streak now. Kansas City has a favorite since mid 2020, including the postseason, 7-14 against the spread, failing to cover by an average of 2.8 points per game. So I think that, this is still a Kansas City team that against a team like the Bengals, against a quality team, it's not even a give me win, especially on the road. You're not an Arrowhead. This is every week we kind of say this, but it's going to be like one of the most important Bengals games that they've had in a long time here. I mean, chance to get to 10 wins now in the season, kind of lock up, keep going towards locking up that AFC North. So I think you get a great effort from the Bengals. I think you get a good crowd. I think these teams are a lot closer together than they were, probably middle of the season or even early in the season. With Cincinnati playing better. And then Kansas City, they're on this 3-game streak of scoring 30 or more points. Teams like this from week 10 on, it's just so hard to kind of keep this up. And we've seen this with Kansas City. They've gone cold a bunch of times, but teams on 3-game streaks of scoring 30 plus from week 10 on against non-elite teams. So teams that have won, fewer than 2/3 of their games. The team that's going against the team with the streak of scoring 30 plus, aka the Bengals, 66-41-2, 62% against the spread, according to our Actual Labs data. ROI of 19%. You get Logan Wilson back. He practiced in full. So you have another extra linebacker.
He practiced in full today?
Yeah. Let me double check
huge.
that. Let me double check that.
Because what's his name Taylor was hinting that he probably wouldn't play earlier in the week. I was reading his
Logan
presser.
Wilson, full practice. Yeah,
that's enormous because Gaither's already out and Pratt just went on the COVID list. He could obviously come back now, but Logan Wilson's their best cover linebacker. Just massive against Kelsey, who's obviously going to get his. But
yeah, I mean, we don't know exactly how Kelsey's doing either. I mean, he was going to get cleared, then he didn't get cleared. Like sometimes guys coming off the COVID list, we don't know. They're also without probably going to be without Edwards-Helaire, so that still takes a little dent out of that backfield. But I just think this is going to be one of those games where you see the Kansas City that has the kinks in the armor versus the Kansas City, against Pittsburgh or the Raiders, who they just match up really well against. So give me Cincinnati plus 5.5.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm waiting on the 6 here,
Yeah.
and Spags is I like it a 5.5. But yeah, I'm gonna wait out. You're in that dead range to see if we get a 6.
Same.
And you have COVID. You could have COVID news, so there's no reason to rush right now. A line of 5.5. That's what you have to really consider with this COVID news this year. It's like, are you around a key number? So is it worth grabbing it early or not? And in this case, I don't think it is. Obviously, for this contest, and we have to. But yeah, I think that. By the way, Kansas City's running a lot more some cover 2 over the past 6 weeks. I think that's working. But their defense, which is improved, right? You get Chris Jones in, you get some guys healthier, you make some personnel changes. Their defense is better, but it's still not a great defense. And they are running extremely well. Like, if you look at the efficiency of like points per opportunity, finishing drives, I mean, they're just at an unsustainable rate right now. Like, there's massive regression coming in both turnovers, points per opportunity, things of that nature, which I think Cincinnati can take advantage of against a team that likes to run a lot of man, likes to run, likes to blitz a lot. And that's where Burrow thrives. And look, sometimes Cincy is its worst own enemy, and that's because of the play calling, and they want to run it too much at times. That's not a bad thing here, because Kansas City's run defense is still bad, and Joe Mixon, I think, can have a big day here, especially. And the Cincinnati run defense has been really good.
Yeah,
keep an eye on DJ Reader's status, but there's a great equalizer here, and especially when you have a bad run defense and a good run offense, and that's the wind and the weather. Supposed to be maybe 20 to 25 mile an hour winds in Cincy on Sunday, rain all day, higher wind gusts possible. Obviously, we're recording this on Wednesday night, but I'll take the Cincy rush offense over against the Kansas City rush defense compared to the Kansas City rush offense versus the Cincy rush defense. And, Cincinnati does a really good job. The Kansas City, it's not like the Kansas City offense has been humming for the past 10 weeks. There's been some clunkers, and, maybe they're starting to figure out how to attack cover 2. You can see Mahomes being a lot more patient. They're running it a little more. They're taking a lot of stuff that's given to them underneath. If you remove the 2 Raiders games, the Raiders just don't play cover 2. It's just like one good effort against Pittsburgh. But what I really like about Cincy's defense this year, and why I think they're really overperforming, is they mix up coverages as well as any team in the NFL. They have 2 really good safeties that are good at disguising coverages. But if you look at like cover 2, cover 1, they're all like in the middle of the pack. They don't have like a one tendency. So they're really flexible. They can adjust. Defensive coordinator has done a good job there this year. So I agree. I think this is too many points. And a perfect example of what the Chiefs regression that's coming on defense is, just take a look at that Broncos game. I mean, the Broncos had like 450 yards, went up and down the field, and just would, get to the 5 and then turn it over on downs. And that's a perfect example of what's been happening lately. And besides that, they played, you want to talk about who they played over this stretch. Their defense has been better, right? But they played the Giants. They played the Packers without Aaron Rodgers. They played a Raiders offense trending way down. They played the Cowboys without their receivers, right? They played the Broncos again, who had like 400 yards. They played the Raiders again. Then they played the Chargers, who went up and down the field. And then they played a poverty Steelers offense. So let's pump the brakes on the Chiefs defense, which is like giving up like 8 points a game over the past 7 weeks. But take a look at the offenses they face. It's no longer the worst defense in the NFL, but it's still below average defense overall. So I agree. I like Cincy here. All right, for my second pick of the Week 17 Sunday 6-pack, I'm going with my Baltimore Ravens plus 3.5 at BetMGM against the Los Angeles Rams. Scary game to bet, but look, you're really buying the Ravens in a classic Harbaugh spot after getting embarrassed last week. Harbaugh, by the way, 39-29-3 against the spread as an underdog, 27-18-3 when catching 3 or more. That's 60%. For you trend people, Stafford against a team with a winning record, he's 31-49-2 against the spreads of 2003. That's the least profitable out of 237 quarterbacks. It's 38.8% against the spread, negative 24.3% ROI. It's back-to-back East Coast games. for the Rams. This is a 1:00 start. This is for the Ravens season. This is a Ravens team that was just completely decimated at almost every position because of injuries, because of COVID, you name it. And they should be in much better shape this week. Lamar Jackson practiced today, limping around a lot. I mean, obviously you're not going to shoot him up for practice, but he's out there on a Wednesday. He's going to play. He's going to start. From all of my intel, I can't say that for sure, but all the intel that I gathered, he's going to start the game. He's going to get shot up, and if he can't go, Huntley is available. So you won't have Josh Johnson out there. You also have a number of other guys who should come off the COVID list, and then most importantly, you will have a more competent secondary. And when you look at last week, the Ravens had one of their top 8 corners available in the second half. You had Anthony Averett go down with an injury. You had Tavon Young, who left with an injury. You're talking about a team that had a practice squad player and a guy they just signed off the street as your top 2 corners last week. I mean, it doesn't get any worse than that against Burrow. I mean, it was bad. So now Jimmy Smith off the COVID list. Tavon Young should be back. Chris Westry is back. Like, it's obviously not Marlon Humphrey. It's obviously not Marcus Peters, but these are huge upgrades in the secondary. You also have a little weather that can help neutralize this. And, I think that's just, this line is just crazy. Catching the Ravens over a field goal at home, classic Harbaugh spot. And you have a little neutralizing factor in the wind here. Ravens run defense has been awesome all year. One of the best in the NFL. That's how the Rams like to set up everything. And, there's going to be some wind, which might limit Stafford a little bit. I think the Ravens ugly this up. Big special teams advantage, big coaching advantage here. Huge coaching advantage and strategic decisions, which I think could end up playing a role here. John Harbaugh, one of the sharpest coaches in the NFL. Sean McVay, as I always call him on Twitter, is a fake sharp. If you look at all of the 4th down decisions when you should have went for it versus not over the past 5 years, the coach who has made the fewest amount of positive decisions in those scenarios is Sean McVay. He always makes the wrong decision, is too conservative when he should be aggressive. And Harbaugh's going to be aggressive this game. So give me the coaching advantage. Give me the special teams advantage. Give me a healthier Ravens team, buying them low after getting embarrassed. And I'll take catching over a field goal at home here in front of what should be a raucous crowd. Bigger home field advantage than usual. Weather, right? This is a Rams team that plays in LA. They're going across the country, 1:00 start, not familiar with Baltimore. Bigger home field advantage than usual here. So give me the Ravens plus 3.5. The only time they let me down in the Sunday Six Pack in 2 years is the game that I was at, the Bengals game when I had the Browns game when I had the Browns minus 2.5, and the Browns are up 21. Fortunately, I'm not going to this game, and we are.
And I'm not betting against you. I'm not betting. I'm not taking the Rams. That was the key. So, I like to think,
So, So I'm, and we're not laying points. We're catching points here.
Yeah.
So, give me a big Tucker game in the wind here. Keep that in mind too with the field goal kicking. Mark my words, Rams miss a couple field goals in this game.
All right. I think the Ravens, I'll have more on this game. I don't think the weather's going to be a massive factor. I mean, it's still 52 degrees, but I mean, Tucker's going to make everything, but I think it's more so just rebound spot for the Ravens, getting healthier. Lamar, I think it's actually good for Lamar when he has time to kind of sit back and watch himself. Remember, he got hurt. I think it was down the stretch last year, where he missed one game and he came back and he was just a lot better. But also, I think there's another one of these scheme games where the Ravens have had a lot of trouble against those cover zero, 6, 7, and 8-man blitzes. Like, ever played Madden and picked engage 8 defense. Like, I feel like that's what they're giving the Ravens, and just having 3 zones in the back end, things like that. Sometimes they even, do man coverage. And that's what, especially Lamar has been struggling with. Well, the Rams played the second most zone. in the
Yep.
league. The Ravens are about a yard and a half per attempt better versus zone coverage than they are against man coverage. So I think that's big because the Rams, that's really been their MO. It's just been, we're not going to be super aggressive. We're going to kind of sit back. We're going to give you some different looks, but we're going to just kind of sit back. You have those 4 defenders deep in quarters, split the field. We're not going to blitz a ton. So it's another one of those things where you're either going to have to take the Rams out of their comfort zone. And the Ravens, I mean, they got to be prepared for this by now. It's been happening for like 7-8 weeks now. So you'd think they would finally maybe get something going here. But yeah, I think there are a lot of schematic advantages. And then you're just getting the Ravens home field. You're getting the Ravens bounce back spot. So those are kind of why I like it. But I'll talk more about this one in a bit. For my second pick,
Ernest Jones, by the way, to IR. That's not a insignificant
who
loss for the Rams. Ernest Jones, a linebacker for the Rams,
has been
playing really well, and linebackers are obviously really important in the game against the Ravens. But go ahead, where are you going?
Man, so this is not my usual kind of pick, but it's late in the year. The slate is pretty interesting, but there's been a trend with this team that I'll talk about. So I'm going with Buffalo minus 14.5 against Atlanta. And here's the thing about first of all, just on paper, obviously it's a mismatch. Buffalo's average margin of victory is 10.9 points per game. Atlanta's is minus 8.1. Schedule adjusted, Buffalo 10.6, Atlanta minus 8.6. So either way, you're looking at about a 19.5 point difference just in terms of the season. And then you got Buffalo at home. You got Atlanta playing outdoors. But look at Atlanta this year against teams that are currently above 500. 32-6 loss to the Eagles. 48-25 loss to the Bucs, 30-17 loss to the Bucs, 43-3 loss to the Cowboys, 25-0 loss to the Patriots, 31-13 loss to the 49ers, in which the 49ers spotted them a touchdown early in the game. And then Miami just got above 500. So we'll give them that 30-28 win over Miami. But overall, total points, Atlanta 94, above 500 opponents, 237. That's an average of 33.9 to 13.4 in terms of the score. A 20.5 point deficit for the Falcons against teams currently above 500. 1-6 straight up, 1-6 against the spread. So if you're ever going to bet against Atlanta, if you're ever going to take a number like this, I think this is the time to do it. I think Buffalo's got the advantage pretty much every aspect. They're at home. I was really impressed by what they were able to do in the rematch against the Patriots. Even getting Diggs going, which is really tough against a Belichick D. I think they're going to be able to do whatever they want here. And this has just been Atlanta's MO all year. Just get blown out by 20 against good teams. So I'm going to Buffalo Bills 14.5 against the Falcons.
If you're going to take one team as a big favorite in the NFL, the Bills are that team. They don't let their foot off the gas. They always pass. And we saw it against the Panthers when they covered late. They went for it on 4th and 2 and threw it in. I think they ruined your total and pushed my second half total.
Oh yeah. 1 point.
Yeah. So yeah, the Bills love just blasting these bad teams. So I do not disagree with you. All right. For my third pick and the 5th overall of the week 17 Sunday 6-pack, I'm going with the Tennessee Titans minus 3.5 at home against the Miami Dolphins. I am now starting to sweat my Dolphins under wins total, under season wins, which is insane. But I do not buy this team. I'm still as low on this team as I was early in the year. And I think a lot of people might have seen a tweet of mine from this week, and let me pull it up. Here's the Dolphins have won 7 straight. First team in NFL history to win 7 straight and lose 7 straight in the same season. They've won 7 straight. Here's the quarterbacks that they beat. And this is after losing to Trevor Lawrence on a neutral field. Then they lost to Tyrod Taylor in his first game back from injury. And he's had an awful year. He's been awful. They lost to Lamar Jackson. They beat Tyrod Taylor. Then they beat Lamar Jackson. Short week, brilliant defensive game plan, and beat the Ravens at home. Good win. They beat Zach Wilson, Joe Flacco, Cam Newton, Mike Glennon, and Ian Book. You're talking about, out of those 7 quarterbacks, you're talking about 6 that aren't in the top 30 of quarterbacks in the league right now. Some should be third stringers. I mean, Ian Book is maybe fourth stringer. Mike Glennon shouldn't be in the league anymore. Cam Newton shouldn't be in the league anymore. Joe Flacco shouldn't be in the league anymore. Zach Wilson has been awful. Tyrod Taylor's been awful. I mean, these are the quarterbacks that they beat. So I'm still not buying Tua. He's been better, but still no air yards. The offensive line is one of the worst in the NFL still. Can't pass protect. They can't run the ball. Tennessee should.
It's all holding calls.
What's that?
Their O-line is just all holding calls.
That's it. So Tennessee should be healthy here, getting a lot of guys off COVID. I assume A.J. Brown is back. We saw how massive that was for the offense. And by the way, Tennessee played Thursday. Extended rest here. Miami played in New Orleans on Monday night. Second road game on a short week while Tennessee has extra prep, 3 or 4 extra days here. I think the charade is over. If you can, I played some money line here. If you can, wait for the 3. I still like it at 3.5. Nowhere close to as much. So it should be a low scoring game. So that field goal is really valuable. If you can buy it at like minus 120 or lower, if you want to money line it with someone. But I still like it at 3.5. I'm just not buying the Dolphins. I'm completely selling them. I'm waiting for them to play a competent team and with a competent quarterback. And this is the spot. And I think that the Dolphins come crashing back down to earth here in a bad situational spot. And I think the Titans get this done. And they should be able to run the ball, too, here in Miami, even without Derrick Henry. So, yeah, give me Tennessee. Fading Miami. Their luck of running into 4th-string quarterbacks finally ends.
Yeah, I agree on Miami. I kind of like at 3.5. I'm not there just because I think this is one where you need the 3. I like what Miami's doing on defense schematically, and I'm totally with you on Miami. Obviously playing a substandard slate of quarterbacks, and that's making the defense look good. But I do like what they're doing schematically. I just don't know what and I've said this before. I just don't know what I'm going to get out of Tennessee. And their offense, yeah. They played. A.J. Brown was great, but they have some COVID issues. I mean, Julio, what is it? They had Cody Hollister. I don't know what their receiving room is going to look like. I mean, Brown could be a close contact or he could test positive. So this is one where, yeah, if I couldn't get the 3 personally, I would stay away. But I get it. You've been kind of low on Miami all year. It's a better time than any to sell high on them. I'm not there with Tennessee. I don't know what I'm getting out of them. So yeah, that's where I kind of am. Maybe an under in this game. I don't see either team scoring many points. But I would definitely try to wait for the 3 or yeah, like you said, maybe go for the money line if you like the Titans.
Yeah, the Dolphins, look, the Dolphins since that Jags game, and I had the Jags, they oh, by the way, then they lost to the Falcons at home. I forgot about that. And then they went on this streak, then they lost to the Bills, and then they went on this streak. I had them against the Texans, and then at the Jets, Panthers, Giants, Jets again. By the way, and another thing, they played 2 road games over this 7-game winning streak. They're 5-2 at home. The road games were against Ian Book and a practice squad of the Saints, and then the Jets in a game they were outgained in, and they won by 7. But yeah, I haven't faded the Dolphins once on the streak, so it's not like I've just been waiting. I've been itching to get this opportunity, and here it is.
Yeah, I feel you. I just that half point, it just seems to me like it could still be one of those close games. But I mean, it's a tough slate because, as you're about to see with, we already saw it, my second pick kind of going against my normal strategy, and I'll get into my third. For my third pick and the 6th overall of the Week 17 Sunday 6-pack, I'm going with the Bucs minus 13.5 at the Jets. And listen, the line came down a little bit because Arians was ruled out. Maybe there's more COVID issues, and this could come back to bite me, but I still think as long as you have Brady, you're probably okay against this Jets team. First of all, just a massive letdown spot for the Jets, who probably should have lost to the Jaguars anyway. I mean, I don't know what Trevor
You
Lawrence.
should have hit our money line underdog parlay.
We should have hit it. Like, I don't know.
1 yard. Why? It's Jags are spiking it on 3rd and goal.
Got to spike it. It was like the ghost of Urban Meyer who was just haunting the Jags. Like, he was still there.
Unbelievable.
It was Urban-esque. It's like, see, that's what happens when Urban Meyer coaches your top quarterback, your franchise quarterback for 13 games, you know? Like, he's spiking the ball at the 2-yard line on 3rd and goal. But I digress. Like, it's not the most comfortable play. Maybe if you want to tease it and get a little more of a cushion, I wouldn't blame you. But similar to the Falcons and the Bills, first of all, it's a mismatch on paper. The Jets margin of victory, minus 11.5, second worst. Tampa Bay plus 8.7, that's third best. Schedule adjusted, the Jets are minus 11.1, Tampa Bay is plus 9.3. So it's about a 20.5 point spread either way. Now, if you look at Tampa Bay's margin of victory, it's 8.7, but against every team except the Saints, it jumps to 11.4. The Saints, we've talked about this. They've had the Bucs number since Brady joined the team, but Tampa Bay's second overall in DVOA. I know they have some injuries. Jets are 26th. They have some injuries as well. All their tight ends are on the COVID list. I mean, it's just, they don't have any receivers. Salah will be back, but I mean, this is just a talent deficient team, and it's a letdown spot. But then you look at this Tampa Bay team, and I don't think they're at full strength. I'm not trying to say like, oh, this Tampa Bay team is just going to run over everybody, but against teams with below 6 wins, which the Jets are obviously one of, they played 5 games. They're 5-0 straight up. They're 5-0 against the spread. 48-25 against Atlanta. 30-17 against Atlanta. 38-3 against Chicago. 30-10 against the Giants. 32-6 against Carolina. Tampa Bay 178. Opponents with 6 or fewer wins currently 61. An average score of 35.6 to 12.2. A 23.4 point difference. So I know Tampa Bay is not at full strength. I still think they come out and handle business against this team. It's just too much of a talent disparity here. Ugly slate. Give me the Bucs minus 13.5. What could go wrong with two double-digit favorites?
Yeah, I mean it's probably Bucs or nothing here, but I'm pretty close. I'm at like 14, a little over 14 is what I projected at, and then but there's these COVID issues, and so it's Bucs or nothing, but I don't have any real strong feel here.
All right, that is going to do it for our Week 17 Sunday 6-pack. To recap, Stuck is going with Washington plus 3.5, the Ravens plus 3.5, and the Titans minus 3.5. 3.5 point spread. That's pretty interesting. I don't know if we've had that before. And I'm going with Cincinnati plus 5.5, Buffalo minus 14.5, and Tampa Bay minus 13.5. That's going to do it for our Week 17 Sunday 6-pack presented by the Athletic Brewing Company, whose innovative process allows them to brew great tasting craft beer without the alcohol. From IPAs to stouts to golden ales and more, they offer a full selection of craft brews starting at only 50 calories. With 2 custom breweries in Connecticut and California, they've created a lineup of styles loaded with accolades, including the 2020 World Beer Award Gold Medal for their flagship IPA, Run Wild. With full flavor, low calories, and no chance of a hangover, Athletics Brews let you enjoy the refreshing taste of beer anytime and anywhere. Place an order today at athleticbrewing.com and get free shipping when you order 2 or more 6-packs. And enjoy 10% off your order with promo code ACTION10. That's ACTION10. Cheers.